All right, ladies and gentlemen, we continue. We move on now. We turn our attention to how the cities of today can evolve into the cities of tomorrow. And for that, very shortly, we'll be joined by CGTN's Nawied Jabarkhyl and his panel. But first, let's watch this inspiring video. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Maria. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with us. I must admit, I think my entrance is going to be underwhelming after Maria's Arabic skills, so a good start then. But the topic will be fascinating, no doubt. Just a quick show of hands to get this started. We saw some great cities in that video there by the World Travel and Tourism Council. How many of you here live in a city? If you just put your hands up, please. A good chunk then will, more than half of the world's population currently live in cities. That's expected to rise to almost 7 in 10 of us around the world by 2050. So that's going to mean a lot of pressure on those systems and urban areas as well. We have a fascinating panel to discuss this for us today. I'll welcome up to the stage first Gilda Perez-Alvarado, the Global CEO of JLL Hotels and Hospitality. Joining us as well is Jerry Inzerillo, the President and CEO of Diriyah Gates Development Authority, and a familiar face here in Riyadh, no doubt. We also have Waddell, the Global Managing Director of IBM Travel and Transportation Industry at the tech giant IBM. Carolyn Turnbull joins us from Australia. She's the Managing Director of Tourism, Western Australia. And last but by no means least, Mitsuaki Hoshino, who's the Vice Commissioner of the Japan Tourism Authority. Thank you, everyone. So, as I mentioned there, huge pressure on these systems. 8 billion people, the world population, passed in the last few days, actually. That's set to rise to 10 billion by 2050. What it means for cities, how will they be designed in the future? What will the architecture look like? How will they be powered sustainably? The world is racing ahead towards net zero. Can we really expect 70% of the world's population to live in sustainable cities? Will there be enough jobs? Those are the sorts of questions that people will no doubt be asking. And how will people move around? Transportation, technology, all to discuss. I think the main theme that we're going to try and answer today is, if we were to reimagine a city, what would that city look like and what must be prioritized? Jerry, let me start with you then. What makes a great city?
Well, let me preface my comments by saying salam alaikum and a pleasant good morning. I'd like to also congratulate our wonderful colleagues, our chairman, Arnold Donald, and wonderful CEO, Julia Simpson, for this extraordinary event. I'd like to personally just give praise to wonderful His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib, because his brilliance in making Saudi a powerhouse in tourism has been very inspirational, especially for all of us at Diriyah. But I think the great thing of a city is its identity, is its cultural identity, as a place of gathering, a place of sense of pride, a place where people can interact and share and be joyful. And that's intrinsic in Diriyah, it's intrinsic in Saudi Arabia. The ability to be human. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Does what I say matter? So I think all the great cities of the world, the one thing they have in common is this celebratory that we may not share the same ideology, but we share the same biology. And let's celebrate all that joins us together. And this gathering today with hundreds of countries, it's just very, very inspirational to me, and to see everybody come together. So I think the greatness of city is the shared humanity.
And Gilda, diversity also does appear in cities. Where do you think COVID-19 has impacted urban life and how the way we live or the way we work is changing?
Absolutely. I think, listen, first of all, to echo Jerry's comments, very grateful to be here and very grateful to all of you. Coming to Saudi Arabia for me is a massive source of inspiration and hope that we can do things better in the future. I would say, to answer your question, COVID-19, what it did is it upended how we live. It changed the way we live, work, play. We had to think about, we had to be thinking about how we were carrying on with our lives and doing things. So it's brought everything into perspective. I would say the biggest thing is we need to look, I know we're talking about the future and innovating and being faster and more efficient, but I think we have to design with purpose. And nature gives us purpose. Everything in nature is designed for a reason, okay? And so when you're looking at the world's greatest cities, they have purpose. They're efficient. They allow for connectivity. They allow for us to your point, Jerry, to make sure that we're interacting. We've been talking a lot about collaboration. Collaboration without connectivity doesn't work, right? So you need a city where the citizens are interacting with each other, where you're bringing in nature, where there's a place where you can go walk, fresh air. The greatest cities in the world have amazing parks. It's not all about building vertically and making sure that the box fits and we can fit in as many people in that box as possible. So I think what the pandemic did is it put that need in evidence. And so again, I urge all of you, as we're designing these great cities of the world, as we're designing, what you're doing, Jerry, here in Saudi Arabia, what the rest of the team is doing, let's design with purpose. And when you design with purpose, you have to have a long-term view. It's not about just efficiency. Efficiency actually can be very wasteful in the long term.
Mitsuaki, for those people who've been fortunate to go to Japan, some fantastic cities there, the likes of Tokyo, skyscrapers as far as the eye can see. What sort of impact does that have on the rural landscape, and how important is it in your considerations now to try and ensure there's some congruity between what happens in the urban and rural environments moving forward?
Okay, thank you. First of all, the Assalamu alaikum, and then thank you for the Saudi Arabia's hospitality here. We really enjoyed staying here in Riyadh. And then, yes, true that from the tourist point of view, that this rural area is very important. But as for the inbound, foreign tourists, actually, for the first tourists who comes for the first time, they try to come to the Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, which called the Golden Route. They try to come to the big cities, not to the rural area. But before COVID, we had been trying to invite those tourists to rural areas, but not success. So as I told you at the morning. In the morning, actually, we after opening our border, we are now trying to promote another special, the project to invite the foreign people to experience the special and also the limited actually experience. So now that's, and also for the domestic point of view, actually as she told, I echo her statement that after the COVID, a lot of people tries to enjoy the nature and not without not in touch. Try to touch with the nature. So now in Japan, a lot of the young people would like to go to rural areas. So we are now promoted two issues. The one is vacation. It's the same as the other world. And also the two is to make the another your hometown, second hometown, to promote the city people to visit frequently to the rural area. Thank you.
And I think from a travel and tourism perspective, that's something that many countries around the world are trying to do now to highlight their offerings outside of cities. Caroline, we spoke before the panel, and in London, living in London, I hear adverts for Western Australia, come and live in Western Australia, targeted at certain types of skills, like tradespeople. So you have the saying goes, build and they will come. It seems like you've built and now you need them to come.
Thank you. Yes, we do have that attitude about build it and they will come. I think a great example of that is to really set a clear vision for your respective destination. And I think collectively, I'm sure we can all agree that our experience here and what's been brought to life through the WTTC Global Summit 2022 here in Riyadh has been extraordinary. And to be present at the first evening and to hear from Jerry and to hear from the Ministry and the STA of the vision that exists here is absolutely extraordinary. And I came to this event with a clear vision for Western Australia, but my God, I'm going home to actually ensure that we are thinking as big as Riyadh is. It's great to hear that our marketing's working in the UK. We have recently unveiled an extraordinary new brand for Western Australia, and I think under that vision, it's really important to ensure that any city across the world is sharing a very clear and concise narrative. Why should somebody come to your city? And what does that unlock in terms of experiences, how people interact with the local community, what business opportunities do you present, what investment opportunities do you offer, and why do you want to return? I think every city has a responsibility to ensure access as a gateway is one aspect, and then unlocking the true potential of that lifestyle aspect that I think Perth, Western Australia offers so beautifully to interact not just with the city, the community and the broader regions as well.
And we'll touch on local communities a bit more because I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Jerry. But Dee, I'll just come to you. Technology, smart homes, smart cities is something we hear about a lot when we consider cities of tomorrow. What role do you think technology ought to play in designing a good city? Lots of people here over the past couple of days have been working in local government or in policy. And is there a concern, do you think, that by enabling too much technology, we may be handing over a risky amount of control?
No, it's a great question, and glad to be here. Wonderful discussion with the panel, thank you. But on the cities, for smarter cities, we're seeing technologies come before us right now, right? So for instance, I know that we've just had some significant advancements in automated driving, right? I know that there's a couple weeks ago, there's been some releases in some of the Tesla software that's been pretty popular on the internet about how well it's working. So you're starting to see some pieces on automated deliveries and driving and other things. Semis will happen in the US. So I think AI, we haven't seen how that will truly impact cities. But we've also seen like the Boring Company unique ways about going under, right? We've seen Hyperloop. I think Saudia and others in the region have done a great job about Hyperloop and other modes of travel. But I think within cities, it'll be how do I leverage the infrastructure and use technology to be able to develop these experiences we're talking about here. I think that's going to be the primary driver.
And just in terms of some of the technologies that, I mean, we hear about sponge buildings or gardens up in the air. What sorts of technologies in particular do you think are worth looking out for?
Yeah, well, I think it was a great discussion earlier by Paul and the team, but the Uber example, and I've used, right? We see Uber that have started to launch out beyond just the traditional taxi. They've gone to scooters, they've gone to, VTOLs, the electric, vertical takeoff device equipment. So you're seeing that they're taking a platform approach into expanding out like Amazon did. I do believe very firmly, having been in the travel industry and tourism industry for many, many years, there's an opportunity for travel and tourism providers to look at being a platform versus being only a travel and tourism provider. You're seeing it with Uber. We all thought it was a taxi. Now we're seeing it come, and I do believe that Uber and the Amazons perhaps, but we'll see the Ubers come before airlines, come before rental cars, hotels possibly, where you're going to see a platform of how do you bring all these things together. So I think that'll be some of the enabling technology we'll see in the future as well.
Thanks, Jerry. I wanted to come to you. Saudi Arabia, lots of people around the world think about cities of the future, plenty of advertising taking place from NEOM, looking at things like the line, which are so futuristic, some people don't even believe they'll be achieved. But when it comes to the other side of that, Diriyah Gate, how important is it for urban areas to ensure that they're not just glass buildings and steel, but that they retain the cultural, traditional, historical aspect of countries like Saudi Arabia?
Yes, thank you. I know we're very limited on time, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. You see, the Crown Prince has a notion. When you work closely with him, you realize that almost every single one of his decisions, almost every one, boils down to what's the quality of life for my people. And if I'm going to be in a leadership position for many years, what thinking can I put in place now that will preserve the culture, the integrity, and quality of life for me, the region, and the world, where Saudi Arabia can be a role model? And why am I stuck with what cities did poorly or what cities learned in terms of evolution? Very quickly, for Diriyah, Diriyah is the birthplace of the kingdom. It started 300 years ago. We're building a city now with 180 million mud bricks the way we did it. But underneath that, so Diriyah can be a walkable city with great gardens and great paths. But underneath that, we have a whole infrastructure with new smart city technologies of water and fiber optics. We're putting 40,000 parking spots underground. We just, in our first year of eligibility, were pre-certified for LEEDs on a platinum level. So what we're doing is we're preserving the identity, cultural richness, and authenticity of the interaction of people above with all the smart city below. This is ingenious. And this point, we're a Giga 2030 project. As you know, December 4th, we opened over $2 billion worth of assets in 2022. So those people who think that NEOM is aspirational, what the Crown Prince is saying is that we're starting our journey on the definition of quality of life now. So if we can prove that we can open assets in 2022 on a 2030 project, this bodes well for NEOM's future.
And just a quick point on the idea of smart below and historical on top. In a word, you think you can retain the authenticity and the organic feature of the realness to it?
Oh, not only do we think we can retain it, it's imperative. And the Crown Prince is extremely strict. First of all, you have to give praise to the custodian of the Tuli Mosque. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the UNESCO World Heritage Site. But we absolutely, the first thing in the DNA of Diriyah is to preserve its identity and Saudi's rich cultural heritage.
Thank you. We're pressed for time, so if I could have about 90 seconds, Gilda, just to ask you about transport. Obviously, that's a crucial part of cities as well. What will they look like in the future? Mobility, how important is that? Will people prefer to walk, do you think, or do they want to get around drones in the sky?
Transportation, just basic infrastructure, that's critical. You know, that's what's going to make or break a city. And I would say when we're designing cities of the future, the first people you have to solve for are the inhabitants of the city. Okay, you take care of them, they will take care of the city, it will attract more people, okay? The reason why transportation is very important, of course, one, we talked about connectivity, ease of going from one place to the next, but it's also part of, you know, safety, public safety, okay? So we need to be very smart as to how we're thinking about this. I love what the European Union, some cities in the European Union are doing by providing free transportation, making it more efficient, becoming more environmentally conscious, but it's all, again, going back to what I said at the beginning, designing with purpose, okay? So the basic infrastructure will make or break a city, but again, define that transportation system for the inhabitants first, and then for the people who are gonna come visit.
Great, I'm gonna put you guys on the spot in the last 90 seconds or so. If we have, Dee, what's your favorite city in the world? If you can't name your own home city, what would you say is your favorite?
Well, I
As
have to
brief as
admit,
possible.
it's been wonderful to be here in Riyadh and here, but one of the favorites is Singapore.
Singapore. Caroline?
Well, I lived in Singapore for 15 years, so I'm very, I guess, passionate about, you know, Asia and the surrounds. But there's no denying that London is one of the most international cities in the world, and it's great to have those direct flights between Perth and London, opening up the rest of the world.
Thank you. Mitsuaki?
Actually, I grew up in Hong Kong, so the Hong Kong now, in that day was the ideal place for me.
Thank you. Gilda?
I don't have a favorite city. I love all my cities. I like how they make me feel. So, but you and I talked about London. I'm gonna give London my vote right now.
And finally, Jerry.
Everybody knows my answer. There's only one Diriyah.
Great. But you see there, Southeast Asia, we've got Southeast Asia, we've got Hong Kong, 2 for Europe and 1 here in the Middle East, which shows that cities really, truly are global. Thank you so much as well for your attention and being with us for this panel. I'll now pass over back to Maria. Thank you so much.